Good evening and welcome back to Checkpoint. We're glad you're watching. My name is Sophia Wanuna. Tonight, that interview we've been telling you about, Moses Wetangula, is the Bungoma senator. He's a Ford Kenya party leader. And for him, it was an acrimonious exit as leader of minority in the Senate. And that's why we want to begin tonight. Thank you so much for making time for Checkpoint. We appreciate that.
Thank you.
A lot has been said about your exit as a leader of minority in the Senate. Do you feel betrayed by Raila Odinga, NASA leader, because of the ouster and also that you are in the dark over the handshake?
The handshake doesn't quite bother me because people can meet and shake hands anytime, anywhere, and everywhere. I also shake hands. I shook your hand when I came in. So that's not a big deal. I have been in politics for quite some time now. I first went to Parliament in 1993. And in the last two terms, 2013, 2017, I have, so to speak, sacrificed my ambitions to support Raila Amolo Odinga. And we've done our bit. And I think Kenyans know the story. We don't have to belabor it. About my departure from the Senate leadership, yes, I feel that Raila Odinga had everything to do with it, and that his conduct is a betrayal in the city, as Francis Imbugo would put it.
Yeah, but not even one of the senators supported you, even the 7 senators from Western region. So is it a Raila thing, or was it also an indictment on your leadership as the leader of minority?
That is not quite true. That's not quite true. First, we have senators, a few senators from Wiper Party, who, apart from Mutula Kilonzo Jr., stood with me. But it was not a contest of wills, because if you want to engage on a popular contest, then you cannot subject a minority to a majoritarian election. We, as NASA, were not talking about who has brought what on the table, because we were a team. Admittedly, from my party, I was alone. ANC had 3, Wiper had about 5, and ODM had the rest. But we were a team. We were campaigning as NASA. We were not campaigning as Ford Kenya, Wiper, ANC, or ODM. All of a sudden, the definition of the party became important. It became loud. It became necessary. It became an issue. And there was nothing like a vote. It was simply a heckling process that was done, and I have moved on. I am now focused on growing the party that I lead for Kenya, engaging in what we are doing with ANC to see how best we can work together, and engaging anybody and everybody of goodwill to see that this country remains peaceful, and this country moves to the future.
So are you still in NASA? You feel betrayed by the leader of the party. You're talking about building and, coming together with the ANC, and we'll talk about that a little bit more. But are you still part of NASA?
Raila is not the leader of NASA.
Well, who was
Raila was the presidential candidate of NASA. NASA has 4 leaders. Myself, Musalia Mudavadi, Kalonzo Musyoka, and Raila Odinga. Raila happened to be our presidential candidate, Kalonzo the running mate, and Musalia and I were to be something else in the event we formed government.
So you'll stay on?
We, as NASA party, which is a coalition recognized by the law, have got a legal status in Parliament. But when it comes to individual engagement at political level, that's a different ballgame. So my party, Ford Kenya, ANC, Wiper, are still in NASA. I don't know about ODM because they no longer talk about NASA, and I don't want to speak to them.
So you stay in NASA?
I am in NASA.
Okay. You've talked about Raila Odinga betraying you. Some of the tweets and the questions that have come in, there are followers who feel you first betrayed Raila Odinga. Then when he took that controversial oath on the 30th of January, you didn't show up. We have Musalia Mudavadi on record on Checkpoint saying he did not attend that function because he did not believe in the swearing in. Why didn't you show up?
Two things. One, there was no consensus between the NASA principals about that event. It was a divided opinion, and many of us repeatedly and constantly advised Raila Odinga that there was no constitutional or legal foundation for that oath.
So you didn't believe in it?
Secondly, in various meetings, we took an informed position that it was not going to be necessary for the three of us to attend. We had a meeting at Panari Hotel, somewhere up here. And Raila Odinga told us, gentlemen, I'm determined to go on with this swearing in. I know what we have decided as a team with our technical team, but I will go on. And I want you guys, if you don't want to come, to keep away.
But why didn't this sentiment come out before? Because in rallies in the lead up to this controversial oathing, all of you were in support, saying it's going to come, it's going to happen. But it appears then
information is given on a need basis. There was no point for us to engage in
it wasn't important for you to tell the country
to everybody.
It wasn't important for you to tell the country that you did not support that oathing?
My opinion did not quite matter.
Really? As co-principal in NASA?
Because we had told our colleague that what he was going to go through was not necessary. Number two, in fact, I asked in one of the meetings, what will happen the day after? You've taken the oath, you are the president of the people of Kenya, where are you going to work from? Where is your revenue collection mechanism? Where is your security apparatus to run the country? Where is your public service? Where are the instruments of power? They were not there. But we, and I, let me speak for myself, I don't think it was necessary for me to appear to be the one going to the public to say this or that. But I have views, I have feelings, and I have a duty, where necessary, to speak out in the manner that I'm speaking.
Yeah. Yes. At the beginning, you appeared to downplay the handshake, saying anyone can shake hands. But this was seen to be a handshake to unite, build bridges. So are you in support of the intention and what the two leaders have communicated?
I have absolutely no difficulty with Raila Odinga meeting President Uhuru. Absolutely none whatsoever. In fact, if you look at the clips of news that is available in your newsrooms, for quite some time, we, and I in particular, kept on asking for dialogue. Dialogue between the leadership of NASA and the leadership of Jubilee to lower the temperatures of politics in the country, to lower the tension that was gripping the country, to agree on the reform process that would save this country from getting onto the brink, literally, every time we go to elections, and to bring a country to a level where, at the end of an electoral contest, the winner walks away happy, the loser walks away unhappy that he has lost, but happy that he was in the contest and it was fair.
Yeah. You talk about dialogue, but it appears now with what betrayal you've described of Raila Odinga, in an interview with The Standard on Sunday today, you told them he invited you for dinner.
For lunch.
For lunch. You rejected the invitation. You've not met him since you were ejected as leader of minority. You have not spoken to him except for the call through Kalonzo's phone. Yes. So there's discord in NASA. So this dialogue, why doesn't it begin with NASA first standing together, even as you engage the other quarters?
There has been no issues on the NASA side in terms of seeing things the way they ought to be.
You hold a grudge with Raila Odinga.
I have no grudge against anybody.
So why wouldn't you
My
meet him or
decline to speak
him?
To somebody doesn't mean I have a grudge. I just didn't find it necessary. My friend and good political ally, Kalonzo Musyoka, invited me and said, Raila has said we go and have lunch. Musalia was in Mombasa. He came back and headed to the lunch. I told Kalonzo that I will not come to the lunch because I didn't find it necessary to go to have lunch because there was nothing we were going to discuss that was going to be productive or helpful. So this
dialogue will happen without conversations happening with the leaders in NASA?
Dialogue is not about people who are like-minded. Dialogue is not about people with uniform views or uniform minds. Dialogue is about Kenyans sitting together with divergent views from different backgrounds, with different projections to the future, but agreeing and understanding that, look, we have a country. You don't believe in the presidential system? I don't believe in the parliamentary system, but why can't we talk and narrow the gap?
We saw some
so
of them.
If we all think alike, if we all see things the same way, what would be the purpose of dialogue?
We saw some of the members from your party meet the deputy president in his current office.
Correct.
Is that part of the dialogue you're seeking to engage in, talk with the deputy president, with the president?
I would have no difficulty with members of my party talking to the president, talking to the deputy president, talking to Raila Odinga,
would you be
talking
open to those
anybody.
Meetings?
What happened is, and the media has picked it and run away with it in the wrong direction. My members of parliament of Fort Kenya Party informed me that the deputy president had invited members of parliament from the western counties who are mixed, the Jubilee members, the ANC members, the ODM members, the Fort Kenya members, to meet him in different clusters. There was Trans Nzoia and Bungoma, then Kakamega and Busia, to discuss development in the region. It does appear like because of the events of the time and what had happened in the Senate, the media tried to focus on the Fort Kenya members and ignore other members. There were ODM members as well. There were ANC members as well. There were Jubilee members as well.
But has there been
and I have no issue.
Has there been a reaching out to you as Moses Wetangula by Jubilee, either of the parties?
There is no reach out to me by Jubilee, and there's no reach out by me to Jubilee, but continuous discussions can happen, and they will happen. I am a very close friend of some ODM members of parliament and their leadership. I have had problems with Raila. I don't have problems with ODM as a party. I have friends across board. Remember, if you look at the history of this country, everybody in leadership today has at one time or another been on the same side. So this game of changing places and changing seats will continuously go on. Today's allies are tomorrow's vicious opponents. Today's vicious opponents are tomorrow's allies.
One day is a very long time in politics. So Raila Odinga has been the face and the force of opposition politics in Kenya for a very long time. In light of the handshake, there's growing concern that the space for holding government to account and actual opposition has diminished, that opposition is sort of like a headless chicken, if I may put it that way, as one analyst opined. What's your sentiment?
It's a harsh judgment on the opposition, but a fair comment on what's going on. One, if you look at Parliament, all the positions of accountability to government are held by ODM, the oversight positions in the Senate and the National Assembly. And as fate would have it, ODM is firmly in bed with Jubilee. So how can they oversight them? In fact, if you notice, the harsh critics of the Jubilee government and the harsh critics of President Uhuru and William Ruto as the deputy president have gone down to a level where you don't know whether they are in Kenya or not. They don't talk anymore. They are now part of the quartet that is singing praises where praises are not necessary. They are now part of the cheerleaders and the cheer team. They're clapping like a little boy who, walked into a room where some jesters were telling the king he was very well dressed when he wasn't. Now they're playing that role.
So you do not see your place in that opposition?
My
You cannot
party,
rise and be that face?
My party, Ford Kenya, Wiper, and ANC are not very large parties. So we don't occupy positions of holding the government to account in terms of parliamentary process. That doesn't, however, mean that we cannot speak out there. Wherever we see issues and problems that are affecting the country, we will speak out. Only last week, I spoke in the Senate about the mismanagement of the flood situation in the country. I have talked about the issues of insecurity that can be done and handled in a better way than we are hitherto doing.
Yeah, but is that enough? Because some would argue, like Third Way Alliance, led by Okuru Okot, no representation in either house of parliament. But you see him constantly engaging, coming up with alternatives, the Punguza Mzigo campaign, saying this is the way the country needs to do. Can we not see a more vibrant, active opposition in light of this handshake?
Watch this space, and you are going to see a lot of that. Sometimes we say things that the media doesn't carry. Sometimes we say things that don't capture the visibility of the nation. If it's talking against corruption, we have done so, and we continue doing so.
Okay.
If it's talking about the economy, we have done so, and we continue doing so. I have said many times, Sophia, that it's not just about Kenya. If you look at Africa, a continent with 60% of the natural resources of the world, a continent that constantly records very handsome GDP growths, but where is the social transformation of our continent?
Right.
Those are things that we talk about, and we know what is bedeviling our continent, and that's why some of us are seeking leadership of this country to change things.
Yes. Let's talk about the proposals to amend the Constitution. Do you support changing the executive, expanding it, executive or non-executive, prime minister, a third tier in government?
You've asked three questions in one. Do I support restructuring the executive? Yes, I do.
In which way?
Do I support the move from a presidential system to a parliamentary system? Yes and no. I want to see a hybrid system like the one we had in the Bombers draft. French type of structure where you have a popularly elected president enjoying popular mandate from the people of Kenya, but with powers dispersed to parliament where there is a prime minister and probably one or two deputies, so that this country can be able to come together and avoid this restrictive structure of the executive that we have today, where you go to elections and there are only two coveted slots, the president and the deputy. And there are as many serious and senior politicians in this country with sufficient clout as you can count them.
Didn't devolution cure that? We have the decentralized power, we have governors. Why is there still so much heat on the presidency?
If you look at our structure today, devolution was meant to cure that. And if you look at a country like Nigeria, which has a devolved system, the governors of the states are as strong, sometimes even more powerful, than the head of the federal state. In Kenya today, where do you find the power? The governors today are like agents of the paymaster general. What do? They pay salaries, period. Less than 15% of the national budget. In effect, 9% of the national budget is going to the counties, and 91%, not revenues, budget. 91% of the national budget is left at the center. That is where the power lies.
Okay. All right. Before we wind up, because we're nearing the end and I have quite a number of questions coming in from our viewers. There's one asking, on this merger, David Mutie from Nakuru, the merger between Ford Kenya and ANC, is it one of just tribal politics? Shouldn't you be reaching out to other communities for national unity?
First of all, ANC and Ford Kenya are not tribal parties. The party I lead, Ford Kenya, our national chairman is a Pokomo from Tana River. Our national treasurer is nominated member of parliament from Wajir, Mama Nazra Ibrahim, and many others. My deputy is Richard Onyonka from Kisii. Musalia Mudavadi's party of ANC has also that national structure.
Okay.
In trying to come together, there's no difference between what Ford Kenya and ANC are trying to do and what TNA and Jubilee did.
So who would be the party leader?
That is a bridge we'll cross when we reach it, because it's a work in progress.
Your own deputy has said Musalia Mudavadi should be the party leader.
He says he didn't.
Well, he was captured.
He says he didn't say so, and I believe him.
You believe him?
Yes.
So would Ford Kenya be the one?
But that is not the issue. You know, leadership is not about who is sitting in front of the other. Leadership is about who is contributing what for the betterment of the people
because
of this
many
country.
argue that is what has led to the elusive, as it's described, Luya unity, that the leaders never concede to allow for there to be a center that all can converge and allow a holding of the entire group. It's a vote-rich region, but
it is, yes.
We have not seen that convergence.
You know, Western is predominantly occupied by the Mlembe people, but it's not exclusively a Mlembe region. We have people in Mount Elgon who are Sabauts, whom we work with. They vote for me.
Yes.
We have Tesos who vote for me, to a man, to a woman. And we have other communities. We have Kikuyus from Central. We have Luos from Nyanza. We have Kalenjins and everybody else.
Yeah.
I don't think it is fair and just for anybody to start pursuing an agenda of tribal unions. We are pursuing an agenda of the unity of the people of the Western region.
Okay.
So that they can stand together as a bloc, be strong as a bloc, be counted as a bloc, and then be able to engineer either forming government with others or others forming government with them in a manner that is beneficial to the region.
All right, final question, because many people have asked about this. Omai G says, the senator told us his ouster and exit from minority leader will be noisy, it would be messy, and it would have casualties.
Yes.
But he appears to be the only casualties, and there's no messiness or loudness we've seen since then.
Remember, the underlying word was the divorce. Divorce is not an event, it's a process.
So where are you on the process?
And the process is just started. Watch this space.
So does that mean leaving NASA at some point, or who are you divorcing?
Watch this space.
Describe that divorce in 10 seconds.
Divorce is disengagement. I already said I've disengaged politically with Raila. That is the starting point.
Okay.
The rest are details.
We thank you so much. Unfortunately, our time is up, but thank you so much for making time for Checkpoint here on KTN News. It was a great pleasure to have you with us.
My pleasure.
Asante.
Let me finish, if you have a minute,
Yes.
by sending my heartfelt greetings to all mothers of Kenya and the world on Mother's Day. Number two, allow me to send the condolences of myself, my family, the party I lead, and the people who vote for me to the people of Solai in Nakuru following the terrible tragedy after the bursting of the Patel Dam. And lastly, let me also send my sympathies to all Kenyans in all parts of the country that are under flood situation, where they're marooned in very unpalatable and inhabitable conditions. And I hope that as we move to the future, this country will have a more responsive approach to disasters, both natural and man-made, to help our people not to suffer anymore.
Thank you so much. And that's a perfect way to wind up, because